Good afternoon. Welcome to the Community Difference Frisco, the first ever installment of the Frisco Community Difference. I'm your host, Nathan Smith. Excited to be here. When you think about visionaries, you want to know, what's going now, what's going for the future. We're going to talk to one specific visionary that had a great idea for Frisco, brought that into reality, and we're going to take a look at that project and how it's helped the community and what's coming next in the next 10, 15 years. Also, it's school board election time, right? Why is that important to you? Why does it matter? Stick around as we talk to GoPaul, and we're going to really dive deep into the importance of being involved in your community. Stick around for the first ever installment of Community Difference, Frisco, Texas. Coming at you now.
Tune in to watch our communities grow. See how our citizens, local governments, small businesses, schools, and our local sports teams are coming together and partnering to make the difference. Are you ready? Let's go! Welcome to the Community Difference, a show where the small business owners, community leaders, first responders, veterans, teachers, and all of the outstanding people in our communities can share their stories, experiences, current events, and leadership examples that are having a positive impact in our communities in ways that can make the difference for us all.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Community Difference Frisco, Texas. I am your, initial host, Nathan Smith. We are here with Brian Poduska, who is going to be hosting this show, but as we'll call it veteran of these shows, Community Difference, I am here to kind of help launch this new chapter of the Community Difference shows through our next city, Frisco, Texas. We are so very excited to be here for not only the city, what it has to offer. It's growing like crazy. If you're a resident of Frisco, you probably know that. All kinds of amazing, wonderful things are happening. We're going to touch on some of those today. But if you're new to the Community Difference, want to take a second and just explain the heart and the mindset behind these shows. And I'll actually bring in who is going to eventually be our host, and he's going to introduce our guest here in just a moment, Brian Poduska. Brian Poduska hosts a Real Talk, another show on the Difference live stream radio and podcast, and then the creator of the Difference, Lyndon Wilson. So I'll bring those guys in here, and I want to just take a moment to talk about the Community Difference as a platform for bringing synergy and unity and awareness to what's going on in our community. So when we think about the different concepts of community leadership, schools, athletic departments, veterans groups, nonprofits, just school boards in general, right? Our senior citizens, there's all these different communities, churches, obviously, that make up community life, really. And so Lyndon talked to me a couple months ago, and of course the Difference had started to bring awareness to why certain small businesses succeed and some don't, and then giving them the tools to learn how to properly brand themselves. Because what we found was that it wasn't a lack of ability or product or service or quality. It was that not enough people knew what they did as a small business. And so we wanted to take that concept and include small businesses, but bring it throughout the community and highlight good things that are happening all over our communities in the North Texas area. There's such a insurgence, I guess is a good word, of negativity that we are a part of and infiltrated with on a day-to-day basis, sometimes by our own choosing, but usually not. And we wanted to do something that was going to remind people that there's still so much positivity that's happening in our community, so many inspiring stories of change and influence and impact. And it's all, at the local level. And it's the local level, guys, that I think that obviously impacts us as citizens more than anything going on nationally, internationally, right? Our lives are lived at a local level. So why would we not want to highlight and be involved and immerse ourselves in the communities that we live in? And so that's kind of where the idea started. So Lyndon, if you want to piggyback on that and just kind of tell me your thoughts, and then we'll jump over to Brian.
Well, everybody loves a good train wreck, right? And that's kind of what you see every night if you turn on the national news, is you see the train wrecks that are going on all across the nation, and some that actually aren't going on, but we're being convinced that they are. And Nathan, and Brian, I wanted to, in doing these shows now for the past 2.5 years, and finding the differences, right, in where success comes from for these small businesses, I realized that small businesses are only as successful as the communities that they work within. And we were doing a disservice to those small businesses that we were trying to help if we weren't helping them become more visible within the community. And when I started looking into that, I started to see some amazing people doing some amazing things that no one ever hears about. Unless you're in that small circle, small group, you don't hear about it. And I think that, when we've talked to the mayor of Princeton, we've talked to different people, and they talk about how in political circles, a lot of times that local turnout's not as big. I think it's just because we don't understand what's going on and how important a lot of these issues and a lot of the people that are involved in seeing those issues come to fruition. If we knew who they were and what they were doing, we could get behind them and support them and make our communities even better. And then when you look back, and I'll stop after this, most people that within our communities, we just all want the same thing. We want peace and prosperity. We want to raise our kids in a good school, and that's really it. And we all get along if we're left alone, and we're not told who we shouldn't like and why we shouldn't like them, and all the negative things that we keep getting fed from, sorry to say it, but the East Coast and the West Coast, right? So the heartland of America is right here in DFW, and I want to share with the people here what's going on, and all the great people and great things that are happening.
Absolutely. It's interesting because you said the inundation of negativity, and it just reminded me how the sources and stuff like that comes from spend a lot of money really putting that in our faces, whether it be Facebook or whatnot. And so you don't get the heartwarming stories very often, the things that are happening in your own backyard, because just like we talked about with local businesses, they don't have the capital or the exposure or the ability to do that. And so the difference on the whole has really set that out as a mission. But I think these series of shows, difference, is really dead set on making sure that we provide a platform, a vehicle for those stories, those people, those things to be able to get out to the masses, especially in these communities. So Brian, we'll talk to Brian here real quickly and introduce our first two guests on our great show in Frisco. But now, Brian, you live in Frisco, so you host a show on The Difference called Real Talk. I used to co-host that with you. Great show, has a huge reach. Why pivot and start a Frisco community difference show? What is it about Frisco that you just couldn't resist?
Well, I think you nailed it on the head to start with. Is that I live in Frisco, right? It's my community, or I'm part of the community. It's not mine, but our kids are all enrolled in Frisco ISD schools. Right. My business is headquartered in Frisco, Texas. So not to mention this town is cutting edge in so many ways. It has so much to offer, and the community here is fantastic. So both, and I don't just mean business community, I mean the entire community, whether it's leadership, whether it's school leadership, whether it's social, you name it. It really is kind of a cutting edge city. And I mean, not to brag or boast or anything, but it's number one on the list of several different lists. So the latest one that I saw was the safest city to live in America. It's number one on the list of places to raise a family. So I'm not going to sit here and go through all the accolades, but that all plays into it, right? And it gives yourself a little bit of pride as to where you're living. And what really intrigued me when we started talking about this whole idea of the community difference is It's really just kind of launching off what we do on Real Talk, the show that you came from, Nathan, which you were a fantastic co-host. I miss you. But you went on to bigger and better things with the Community Difference, and I love it. Right, I love the idea of putting the spotlight and allowing folks that are part of these, what makes these communities great, whether it's Frisco or Plano or some of the other ones that we're targeting. We can really get the stories out and really inform folks, as well as give business owners and entrepreneurs a way to come out and put a spotlight on themselves and tell their story and why they love what town they're in, right? So all those things, it's kind of a long-winded way of saying all those things play into it. But heck, man, I live and operate in Frisco, Texas. So, I guess I'd put that as number one, but it's all those other things too that I think play into it.
And I want to jump in there real quick, Nathan, if I may, and just remind everybody that Brian's show last year in 2021 was the number one show on The Difference. We had over 1.5 million viewers. Brian's show was number one. And what Brian has been able to do and help me do, and Nathan, now you, we all know that this has been an evolution of where we first started. This thing has kind of born itself. And we just keep hanging on and going along with it and making the adjustments, because we're learning the power of social media and how we can connect with people and help people connect with other people and remind the communities of the good people that are doing business within those communities. I mean, one of the things that we need to remember is that those small business owners they're the citizens of those communities as well. They're not just a business owner. And so there are neighbors, there are family, and there are friends. And I think if we all get to know each other just a little bit better, we'll understand that we're on the same page. We're all pulling the same direction, and things continue to improve within the communities we live.
Absolutely. So let's do this. What I'd like to do is, Brian, I'm going to have you bring in our two guests, Donnie and Gopal. Brief introduction of these wonderful gentlemen, and then before we dive into their specific areas of expertise and why we wanted to have on the show, just like to pose a couple of questions. When you think of a community show like this, specifically for Frisco, how does that benefit you guys in your individual arenas? And then I think what I've done it with the Plano show is just I want to ask you guys specifically, what attracted you to Frisco? Why do you want to raise your family here? And then I always ask people this: what's your favorite place to eat? Everybody likes a good restaurant. So, Brian, if you'll bring our guest on and give him an introduction, and then we'll chat with him for a few minutes.
Yeah, for sure. So, as you said earlier, they were guinea pigs, or I think that was the term you used. I prefer victims, maybe, as our first two guests. But so today we're bringing on Donnie Churchman, who is the owner, creator, CEO of NAC Development. We will dive into all the things that NAC has going on and really get into the mind of the visionary of downtown Frisco. That is Mr. Donnie Churchman. And we also have Gopal, and I'm not going to mispronounce your last name just yet, Gopal, so I'm going to say Gopal P. And Gopal is he's the incumbent, so he's currently on the Frisco ISD trustee board, and he's running for re-election. So it's very timely because those elections are coming up. So we wanted to get Gopal on the show as well. So without further ado, if we can bring those guys in. Hey, gentlemen.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
How are we feeling today? All right, we got a little reset. How are we feeling today?
Feeling fantastic.
That's it. Love it. All right. So, Nathan, I think you kind of Go ahead, bud.
I was just going to say, so as we launch this show in Frisco, thinking about as a developer, Donnie, and obviously you're a really integral part of the school system and running for re-election, Gopal. How do you feel like a show like this, whether do it twice a month or whatnot, could really benefit your arenas with getting what you do to the public, but just highlighting some of those important projects, goals, vision, whatnot? We'll start with Donnie.
Well, it's another platform for folks to hear about what's going on. I hear all the time folks not knowing about things in the downtown, not knowing about developments or opportunities to entertain or eat or spend time with family throughout the city. So this is just another platform that's much needed to inform the residents of Frisco. I think it's great.
Awesome. Gopal, what about you, sir?
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. When there's so much of negativity going on, having the positive things showcased is very, very important, because as any citizen, well, or for parents too, right? They all want good things for their children, but it is also very important that they get the correct information, authentic information, so that they can be part of the village that is bringing up the child and then make them grow and create their own futures. So this is an awesome show. Thank you so much for having me. I don't consider it as a victim or a guinea pig, but I think that it's an awesome opportunity.
Well, I'll flip the next question. We'll start with you, Gopal. What is it about Frisco? And I think the feedback we've gotten is just that people want to know that connective factor. What is it about Frisco that attracted you as a place to raise a family, to obviously serve on the school board, the board of trustees, and now you're running again? But just in general, what is it about Frisco that had you end up here, et cetera, and what kept you here? I guess is a better way of putting it.
Yeah, thanks, Nathan. So I moved to Dallas area, specifically Plano, in the year 2000. And at that time, I was working for a Plano-based company. And the only city that I was looking for to raise my family was Frisco. And you'll not believe it. In 2000, when I came, the place that I got very attracted was the Stonebriar Mall. That was the only big thing at that time. And then, if somebody crossed Stonebriar Mall, it was like, you're going into wilderness on Frisco. That's how it was.
I remember that, actually.
Yeah. And then Frisco was the only city we thought of, raising our family. At that time, when I moved with my wife, Viji, and my older one, Ananya. And then when we were looking for homes, we looked for a home near Hillcrest and Rollator. And then the saleswoman, she took us to the second floor of their office. And then she showed that, hey, this is Gunstream Elementary. This is Western Middle School. And then there's Centennial that's coming up. And I thought that, okay, this is great. My daughter can just walk to Gunstream and then maybe bike to Western and then bike to Centennial. So this is great. So we came downstairs and then signed up. So that is how we got attracted. And then later on we had our younger one, Anisha, in 2006, and then we've been here very happily for all these years.
That's awesome. I'm putting you on the spot here. What's your favorite place to eat in Frisco if you had to pick one?
La Hacienda.
Oh, that's a good choice.
That's unfortunate though, because it's been closed since at least for a year, right?
Yeah, I think they are opening this week, right? Or
that's what it
Yeah,
says.
they're opening back up. I saw that the other day.
Oh, that's exciting. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I don't get that far up that often, but that's awesome. Okay,
So
go.
I'm going to put you back on the spot since you haven't been able to go there for last year. What's your second go-to?
Second go-to is the one in downtown. They changed the name actually to I forgot the name. The new one. It used to be on the main end, I think, next to the gas station. But the depot is another thing that I love.
Oh, the depot, yeah. Maybe
It's
Haystack, the burger place. Is that what you're thinking of? Haystack?
Which one?
Haystack?
Haystack. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
It used to be a Tex-Mex before. I
Correct.
used
Yeah.
to go there
So
very often. It used to be my favorite place.
that might be a good segue into the downtown discussion. But Nathan, go ahead and fire away because I know you're going to put Donnie on the spot, which isn't really on the spot anymore.
No, well, because I'm looking forward to hearing about the development of that downtown area. But just the same question to you, Donnie. Why Frisco? What brought you here? What kept you here? Obviously, you had a vision, which we'll talk more about in a moment. But what was it about this area that caught your eye?
Yeah, the very similar to Gopal. Came here for business to North Texas, to really the DFW Metroplex, but wanted to find a good school district for my boys at the time. My son Tyson is now 19. We moved here in 2011, so he was 8, and he has Down syndrome. So we were really looking for what's a school district there he's going to be able to thrive, and his younger brothers are going to be able to get a great education as well. And it was a pretty easy selection when we found Frisco amongst the neighboring cities. So that's why we ended up in Frisco. Texas for business, came from the dreaded California. not going back. Happy to be here.
We're glad you're here.
And then Frisco, definitely for the school district.
That's outstanding. Okay, so favorite place to eat that is not that is open currently
today. D Lincoln Prime at the Star is my favorite restaurant.
I've only been to neighborhood services at the Star. I need to try some other restaurants out there for sure. So let's do this, Brian. Let's reset. We're going to talk. I know we're going to talk with Donnie first, kind of give him a reintroduction, and then jump into the Rail District project. And I know we have a whole line of questions lined up for him. So I'll turn it back over to you.
Yeah, cool. So I think we've got enough time before break. So Donnie, let's hit the rewind button, right? So your company NAC. Tell us what inspired you. Tell us about what inspires you, because I think that's a fantastic story. So why don't you share that with us?
There's two things. Civic service is in my family, in my blood, from a grandmother who was mayor of Pasadena, California, grandfather, planning commission, my mom, an economic developer for 2 different counties out there, tons of teachers in my family, school superintendents, school principals in my family. So that's just something I grew up seeing and being a part of. Moving to Frisco created the vision, to be honest, for what I wanted NAC to be, which was, where's the downtown, right? Someone drove me through it and they said, well, what'd you think of the downtown? I said, that was the downtown. Where is everybody? So that started the wheels, right? Not the hamster wheel, the guinea pig wheel that we're doing here on the show today, but the wheels that turn in my head of what could be in downtown Frisco. And from there, I just started to vision it with my team, with residents, with elected officials, with city staff. When you get all those minds thinking and creating and bouncing ideas off of each other, you start to get some really cool ideas to make it a place that people want to come to and stay.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. Which, along with that, you're going to have a lot of different opinions and a lot of just management of those, and how do you pick and choose the ones that are viable? How do you pick and choose how to push those forward? Tell us a little bit about the process of how you envisioned and came to the vision of what the Rail District is. I know you've visited many different places. You've got experience that all played into that. So tell us a little bit about that, so people don't just think, yeah, this is great because the business A, B, and C said that they want to be here, here, and here. Tell us a little bit about the thought and the process that you went through to come up with that vision.
So I'm hugely, tremendously passionate about downtowns in general. I just love downtowns. So whenever I travel, I always go to their downtown. And there are some that just stick out in the country. Greenville, South Carolina is one. Fort Collins, Colorado is one. Pasadena, California is one. Portland, Oregon, before the rioting was one. But when you go there, you see what works. So and why people are down there, why the streets are packed with people walking around. And when you go to cities that don't have that, you can relate back to when you were in Greenville and the difference. And it's not really rocket science in what we're doing. It's been proven in other cities what works and what attracts people. So we just really recreate that, but with the Frisco twist on it, or the Texas twist as well, to create that for the downtowns and to get people to come. And we're just in the very beginning. I'd say, I was quoted the other day, we're about 15% of the way there from when we started 6 years ago. So we're still getting started. We have a lot more to come, but it's really understanding, what do people want? What's going to keep them in the downtown? Why are they even going to come to the downtown? And Frisco, when I first moved here, didn't have any of that. It had the bones to be great, but it wasn't happening yet.
I got a question for you, Donnie, if you don't mind. Do you feel like because you've seen a lot of downtowns, obviously, and Frisco had not grown, I guess, too large, obviously, by the time the project started. But you look at a city like Dallas, which I love Dallas, obviously, but their downtown area, huge skyscrapers, whatnot. They did not have a really vibrant nightlife or eateries until recently. They've been trying to to try and limit that. And I think they've had some success on Main Street, but it's almost like, you know, I guess they pushed a lot of people towards Deep Ellum in the West End all those years, but it's almost like you have to do it at the timing element of it. Would you agree with that? Is there a point of no return, I guess, is what I'm asking?
Did you say a timing element?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's demographic, right? What do we have here north of Dallas is really families. And where can families go to a downtown? They're not going to drive 35 minutes to go have a drink in downtown Dallas, right? And it's a totally different demographic than what we have in Plano, Frisco, Prosper, McKinney, in those areas. When I picked Frisco to be the first city to develop a downtown, it's because I lived here, and it was much needed. But it was also the golden egg of North Texas, right? So timing was absolutely pertinent to what we're doing. As Frisco is just exploding, I think it's 1,000 people a week, something like that, are being added to Frisco. So the study we did back in 2017, the demand study, was for Frisco as it stood then and there, with that current population, assuming no growth. So what we know from that study and from today is there's been tremendous growth. It's going to continue to grow at least another 100,000 people. You have the Star on one end, PGA on the other end, and right smack dab in the middle is Frisco's downtown. And so it's not only timing, but placement. And then on top of that, demographic and need.
Wow.
So, Donnie, I've got a question for you. I mean, heck, so our timing is very similar as to when we arrived in Frisco. Our boys and my girls are all very similar in age. So it's a great, we came in at really the right time, right? And at that time, downtown Frisco, there still is, there's the old downtown, and then there's the new downtown. And the new downtown at that point when we moved in literally was brand new. So there was the City Hall, the library, the Toyota Stadium across the street, and that whole street right there was considered the new downtown. Well, there's the railroad tracks that split those two, right? And that's kind of the differentiating line between old downtown and new downtown. And you and I talked about years ago when we were just sitting around talking, how come nobody's outside, enjoying the ambiance of that downtown area, whether it be new or old? So talk about the impact of what the revitalization of charming old downtown Frisco could do for the new downtown, or the old new downtown Frisco, and how we bridge that gap.
Yeah, there's a whole lot that goes into explaining that. But the first is real estate development 101. And I think that those that were involved in the new Frisco Square back when they planned it would admit a lot was done wrong. Development 101 is you need office and residential to feed the restaurants and retail. And it was done in reverse. So now you have a lot of people living in the new Frisco Square that are going to feed the restaurants and the retail that are there. So while others didn't make it, those that are there, if they're providing good service and good product, they're going to make it now because the people are there. If you cross the tracks, the people were already there. Right? They've been there since 1902, since the city's been building. Right. So that they were already there and just waiting for that demand or waiting for the product to show up and for some attention to be paid to it. And that's all I've done. I've come and I've paid attention to the downtown, to the old downtown. And when you do things like widening the sidewalks, like our patios project, the sidewalks are 18 feet wide. That is very inviting for people to come and walk and sit on the patio. You could go downtown right now, go to the patios, and I guarantee you there's people sitting on the patios outside of La Finca, right, underneath their now beige umbrellas that were red. They just changed them this week. And it's because it's inviting, right? And we didn't have that before. Now, the city is also investing around $20 million here over the next 2 years to widen the existing sidewalks and to provide opportunities for patios out there. piggybacking on what we've done, but also collaborating together to do these things, bringing in a plaza, a pedestrian plaza on 4th and Main Street for people to gather and enjoy themselves and eat, drink, be merry, all that good stuff. But that, again, that's just a part of what we're doing down there, what we're doing in concert with the city.
That's awesome.
Let me call a timeout right now, because I think that's a great stopping point. What I'd like to do, we do have to put a little commercial break in here, but on the backside, I want to come back and talk about what that vision and what the future and what NAC development is doing to be a part of that and to lead that into the next phase. And then secondly, Gopal, I want to jump back over to you and give you some airtime as well. So let's hit that commercial and we'll come back.
The Difference Radio, live stream and podcast, the voice of small businesses and the communities they serve.
Over the last 24 months, The Difference has evolved into a powerful internet media company that helps small businesses and local communities and nonprofit organizations create, produce, broadcast, and distribute a variety of shows, all designed to empower our communities, the businesses, the people, the places, and the events that make our cities, communities, and the folks that live there so very special.
With almost 1.5 million viewers and listeners in the last 2 years, The Difference and its unique strategy of positive impact branding has helped communities and small businesses be seen, be heard, and be remembered.
In a world that is consumed with negative press, media manipulation, and propaganda, The Difference, along with many others who believe in and support The Difference, understand that there is no better way to make the difference in our communities than to highlight the unsung heroes and high achievers that call our towns and communities home. And we wanted to create a platform that does just that. One that brings awareness to and reminds folks of the goodness that lives within so many of us and our neighbors.
And don't forget to hit that like, follow, and subscribe button, and tune in each week so you can experience the difference.
I think we need to update that viewership number, Lennon, because I know it's closer to 2 million, not 1.5. But that's all right. We can get to that to the editor.
It's growing. It's growing every month, Brian. We're happy to change it.
There we go. All right. So let's pick up where we left off, Donnie, and let's just talk through the vision of what's coming down the road. Now, obviously, everything isn't fleshed out and things like that, but I know personally there's some huge projects coming up. So I just wanted you to touch on that, and then what has been worked out with the city as far as rerouting and what public squares and at least what, again, may not be fleshed out, but certainly has been in the discussion.
Yeah. First off, I want to say if Gopal gets 2 million votes, I'm going to have some questions. Okay.
The ballot box is loose.
There we go. So yeah, with this. I have some big plans with our team downtown. The first that we're going to start this fall is our project that we call the Richie Gin. It's where old Cotton Gin used to sit right at First and Frisco Square Boulevard as it comes into Main Street, right across from where Gopal likes to eat from Haystack Burger. We're going to bring in a 12,000 square foot brewery there called Frisco Brewing Company. Attached to that is a 4,000 square foot restaurant as part of Frisco Brewing Company, where it's the whole life cycle. The grains are being fed to the cattle. There's going to be a butcher shop inside the restaurant. That cattle fed on the grains of the beer. They're going to have a bakery in there. A lot of those baked goods are being created with those same grains. So it's just a full cycle brewery that's going to be fantastic. Frisco's first ever.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So we need to highlight that Frisco Brewery. Like, how freaking cool is that?
Frisco Brewing Company, Frisco's very first.
Yes.
So we will start that this fall. It'll take us right around 18 months to build. With that's coming a 3-story office building and a parking garage that'll add another 207 parking spaces to the downtown, and a large open space area, almost about a half acre open space just outside the brewery that they're going to program as well. So that starts here later this year. And that's on the other end of the downtown, on the west end of downtown from our patios project. The patios project is now 100% leased out. So when you ask my favorite restaurant, I have a feeling it's going to be Alejandra's, which is a San Diego restaurant group. It's going to be a high-end Mexican food place. So it's not Tex-Mex. It is Mexican, high-end, not a grab and go. You're going to go there and you're going to spend a quality amount of time there drinking on their, sipping on their tequilas, their margaritas. Rumor is there might be an oyster bar included. So it's going to be a really cool spot. And then on the other end is Giola's Italian Kitchen, which exists today in Carlsbad, California. And they're bringing it here for where they make pasta in-house. You can actually see them making the pasta in front of you. And that's going to open this fall. Giola's and Alejandra's will be about 2 months behind it. So we have that going on. We have the Ford building. We just announced today that Three Empires Brewing, a small craft brew pub, has leased out the last remaining space there. They'll open in about 90 days, where you can just go to a brew pub and enjoy a nice craft brew. So I'm excited for them. That's the Weibel family that's going to be doing that. And we're about 90 to 100 days before they're open, and we can sip on some beer in downtown at a local brew pub. Really, really exciting there. We are in talks with another very, very big project with the city. Can't announce it yet, but it's bigger than anything we've done yet. And it's going to be right in the heart of downtown if we can make this happen. Right in the heart of downtown as well is where the city's putting their pedestrian plaza at 4th and Main Street. They're going to close down 4th Street, both south of Main and north of Main, to create a pedestrian plaza. They are widening the sidewalks in downtown. That should start this June, I believe, on Main Street and Elm Street. So they're going to be widening the sidewalks on both, make Elm Street more of a commercial street to parallel Main Street to bring more activity to downtown. So all sorts of stuff. We're programming the NAC Theater now. We got Frisco Got Talent coming up June 3rd and 4th, or auditions, live auditions, just like the show. We have celebrity judges like Major League Baseball All-Star Torrey Hunter's a judge. They're going to be down there judging them. We can watch them live. And then June 25th is the actual finale, live finale of the 10 finalists. That's fun stuff we got going on downtown.
Donnie, where can Brian sign up for that?
Well, I'm guessing he's going to sign up for stand-up comedian.
Okay.
So he can actually email.
It's going to be a tough choice between that and having my dance lessons pay off. So I don't know. I'm going to have to pick.
Well, we should probably do that next, right?
I thought you were doing baton twirling, but I must have mistaken. So
I'll have to adjust my camera work, and we'll see.
Okay.
All I know is I will have the camera rolling if he's doing that.
Yes, we also are about to finish our tower commercial project, which is at 7th and Elm Street, right underneath the Frisco Water Tower. We have 4 businesses coming in there. We have Board and Bread Charcuterie right next to the Melted Chocolate, which is a dessert bar and live music venue. Up above will be Creative Culture Hair Spa and Callaway Real Estate. So that's all coming here later this summer. Those will all be opening. So you got the charcuterie next to chocolate. It's a perfect date night, bringing more people downtown. So just so many things going on. We have another restaurant will be opening at 4th and Main, right where the pedestrian plaza is going, the old Nelson Photography Building. So just a lot coming.
That I can't. There's so many restaurants. I'm getting so excited I can't even focus on one of them. I kind of distracted.
You're salivating. You might want to wipe right here.
That's right. That might be it might be lunch. Yeah, you. When you said tequila, I got distracted for a little while, but then I came back. So
I'm still thinking about it.
Man,
it's amazing you could continue through all that. You just have it all memorized because once you hit tequila, you had me there.
Right.
So one thing I do want to point out that you said, Donnie, just to kind of rewind back. You said there's going to be open space at the Richie Gin. There already is open space that I think not enough people know about at the patios. I love the fact, and there's that open space that has the Imagine lawn, if you will, kind of right in between those. And I think that's a great thing to point out for folks that, you know, you're not just walking at downtown and going from shop A to restaurant B to, you know, boutique C. you have actual places where you can hang out and spend some time with your family, with whoever you want. And they're not only just open spaces, they're very gorgeous and pretty. It overlooks the city of Frisco on the patios. I haven't seen the rendering of the open space on the Richie Gin, but another element that's just going to make it, top notch.
Yeah, and people hold a lot of their events there. We might see a Go Paul celebratory party there after the election.
Boom, there you go.
It actually holds 750 people on that roof deck. So it's a lot of fun to program, to do special events. We have weddings there, quinceañeras, all sorts of different events that we're having there, from conferences. The Chamber was there this week. Same with Imagine Park, which is right next to the Ford building. For those of you that have driven down Main Street and seen the Back to the Future mural, that's Imagine Park right there. And that's the other thing we've done with the downtown, is we brought art to it, a lot of visual art. Soon, Melody of Hope is going to start music on Main. I believe that is starting on May 7th. So you'll see live performers on Main Street just playing and singing music. We're going to try and do it one Saturday a month and then scale it up from there.
That's awesome. Yeah. So, I mean, heck, we could go on and on about what the future looks like, but I think it's bright, it's vibrant, which is a word that has not applied to downtown Frisco in some time. So I can't wait to see what happens and how vibrant it can be. I know how vibrant it can become. I can't wait to see how vibrant it will be here in a matter of probably months, as we get into the fall with those added restaurants coming at the patios. So with that, Donnie, thank you for sharing all that. I think, like you said, the vision is there, the vibrancy is coming, and there's nothing but excitement coming that way.
Yeah, Brian, Nathan, thank you so much for having me on. Go Paul. Good luck, Go Paul. Best of luck to you.
Donnie.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Donnie. Awesome.
With that, let's shift gears. Go Paul.
Yes, sir.
All right. Tell us about what's coming up, and then we'll get into your candidacy. I know I mentioned earlier that you're the incumbent, so I do want to understand what's happened since you started and what your learnings have been. But I'll just kind of let you kick it off and tell us what's coming up and what the future's holding here.
Absolutely. So I'll start off a little bit about how I got into the space of Frisco ISD and all, a little bit about that, and then what we did in the last 3 years, and then what my vision is. That's how I will share some of the information. As far as we moved in 2003, and then my daughter went to Gunstream, and then my first foray into serving to be in the space of Frisco ISD is through Watchdogs. There was a program where dads of great students, where dad, will be available to volunteer in elementary school. So that's how I started with my older one. But in the meantime, we are a family very ingrained into the education space. My grandfather has donated a home back in India. My wife was a teacher until last year in a Montessori school. And then, I've been part of education-based nonprofits where we did some concerts here, organized 5K walks, and then the proceeds were donated to Indian-based nonprofits. So that's how it was. And then very slowly, I became part of the Frisco Education Foundation, which gives scholarships to the seniors in Frisco School District, and they also give grants for great ideas for all the teachers. So I became part of it, and then I was a volunteer there, and then I realized that there are certain students in our community where they're working in Kroger or Walmart or places like that, not just to earn some pocket money, but in order to support their families because they have a single mom or their dad is a retired veteran or an injured veteran, and then, they need some financial strength. So because of that, these kids were working. So I thought that, I need to do something about it. And then I started a non-profit. And then I started giving scholarships to the school seniors through Frisco Education Foundation. Initially, we gave around 2,000 and then 5,000 per year. And then now, since last 3 years, we've been continuously giving $10,000 per year. I would like to up it more, push myself more so that, I can give more and more back to the community. So that's how we do. And my daughter is part of the nonprofit, so she does a program called a concert. Like probably we can use a NAC theater in future for her events, where she does dance for a cure. She invites the students who are learning dance, and then they perform a 5 to 7 minute piece, and then 10 or 15 such pieces. And whatever proceeds from the ticket sales or the sponsorship, she donates it to a cancer clinic in Richardson that provides free treatment for people with no insurance
That's
or
awesome.
underinsured. That's how from the nonprofit standpoint. And then, apart from serving the community through the Frisco ISD through Frisco Education Foundation, I also became part of the Programs and Facilities Evaluation Committee, which is the bond program, the 2018 bond program. And then I was part of the Long Range Planning Committee. So having been in the space of Frisco ISD, serving the community, I thought if I have a formal role, then I'll be able to serve more. So that's how I ran in 2019. And I'm very grateful to the community for giving me this opportunity to serve the community, the capacity as a board of trustee in the Frisco School District.
That's fantastic. And that's so it all started with Watchdogs, huh?
Yeah, that's how it started. I think in 2006 or 7.
I love that program, and my daughter, she was the last to go through it. Now she's in 7th grade, so they don't have the program in middle school, but they only have it in elementary school. And when the pandemic hit, it was the latter half of her final year of elementary school, and I hadn't gotten in that final watchdog opportunity. So when I think back to some of the things that the pandemic took away from me, it was that final opportunity to be watchdog for my daughter for the last time. So but that's awesome. I love that program, and I love how that's what kicked off and inspired you to kind of keep going. So that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So I do want to ask you, you've been on the board for what, the last 3 years? It's a 3 year term? Yeah. Okay. So tell me about, we talked about it earlier, right? The growth of Frisco and obviously the challenges that presents, because all the 1,000 people a day on average coming to the Frisco community, most of those people have kids, right? So that those thousands, a lot of those thousands are children who need education. And tell us about the challenges that poses to leadership, for instance, and then obviously for the logistics and the planning and how new schools are formed. I mean, there's all kinds of different avenues we can go, but tell us how you guys have managed the growth over your last 3 years, and then what the plans and how you guys do that going forward.
Sure. So I'll start off with a couple of things. One is the school model we have is a small school model is awesome. Whoever have started it a few decades ago, this model gives opportunities for more and more schools, more and more high schools, which means more quarterbacks, more opportunities for our students. So it's like a student opportunity-based model, which I really love because, there are more debate teams, more opportunities for leadership, and, there's more focus on students. And then the other thing is, because of the growth, if other school districts are adding around 500 students approximately every year, we are adding around 2,000 students every year. So which poses a challenge from the capacity standpoint. And then we have great teams here. We have internal demographers, we have external demographers, and then our committees. And then we go through the situation and we reconfigure. We have to rezone, which is not a great thing for most families. But however, they get to meet more friends. And we have added a new high school last year, 11th high school. And then this fall, we are adding one more high school and one more elementary school. So, the opportunities are very good. And then one thing that I really love about our Frisco and the Frisco School District is that the relationship between the city and then the school district is really awesome. Because of which, our kids, get to practice in the same place or play in the same place where the Cowboys practice. And very soon we will be having the PGA available, part of the space where our kids can go and practice too. So I mean, this is all happening because of the awesome partnership that we have with the school district and then the city. So, just to answer your question, we are continuously monitoring the growth and then making amends so that, we are adding schools as needed. We are adding one more elementary school this fall, as I said, and the next year we are adding middle school and an intermediate school. So we are doing so many things continuously to ensure. Plus, we are also adding a lot of opportunities, like through our CADE Center, we have added cybersecurity related program. We have e-games, e-sports, and we also have vocational training like welders, plumbing, things like that. So if somebody wants to get started into a vocational job, as soon as they finish, they can get into that, and then they can study in parallel. So we are working on the future readiness of our students.
Yeah, and I was blown away. I mean, I told you earlier, all three of our kids are currently enrolled in Frisco ISD. I have twins that are 16 years old. And no, I'm sorry, they just turned 17. It's hard for me to comprehend that still. But so they're at Frisco High, and then my daughter is in middle school at Hunt. And I'm blown away with the number of different opportunities that they have as far as you can try things out, right? With electives that I never even dreamed of, and I came up through what was considered a very good school district as well. So it's amazing to me to see all the different choices they have. Not to mention, you brought up the fact that if your son plays football, he can play on the same field and practice on the same field that the Cowboys do. My son is actually a hockey player, and he gets to play hockey on the same ice that the Dallas Stars practice on.
Yeah, the Comerica Center. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. So there's some really unique opportunities that these kids have, either academically or sports wise, that you can't find anywhere else. It's not possible.
I feel very excited about it. Our graduation rate is 99.4, and then our SAT and the ACT scores are way above the national and state average. And then our teachers are awesome too. Our teacher from Centennial, she was a judge, best teacher of the year by a petroleum-based nonprofit. We have our coaches named best coach of the year, Ross Reedy from Liberty, who teaches basketball for girls. So a lot of exciting things are happening. So I feel very good about all that.
Yeah, I can attest that you guys collectively in Frisco ISD, especially like you mentioned, the way that it's set up with the smaller school mentality, when it reaches a certain population, you build another one and you plan ahead for that. That's unique, that you don't see everywhere. Now, with everything that's great, there's always the other side of the page, right? So what are the biggest challenges you guys have, and what changes are you guys looking to do to address those problems?
Absolutely. So before I proceed further, I would also like to add one more thing, because it's the community difference program where we are talking about positive things. So we have about 1,100 school districts, and then HEB, which is coming to Frisco very soon. They do the award, Excellence of Education Award, and they select the best school district, best school board. And then out of the 1,100, we are in the top 5 school boards. So thank you.
That is phenomenal.
Yeah. And then next Saturday, they will be awarding the best school board. So hopefully we'll be there. Will be the top. But otherwise, we've already made it to the cut. We are in the top 5 of the 1,100 school boards.
So you've blocked off your calendar for next Saturday, I assume then, right?
Yes. Yeah. I'll be in Austin for that.
All right. Awesome.
And then very quickly about challenges, it's like, school district is like a mutual fund sort of a thing, right? What brought us here today will not take us forward, in the sense we need to continuously be watching, how we are doing, and then take the feedback from the parents, from the community, tweak things, and then, move forward. One of the things that is very, very important is the learning loss that has happened due to COVID. We are using some ESSER funds and then reinforcing, providing more inputs to the teachers so that they are able to handle the learning loss. That needs to be monitored in the next 3 years or few years. And also comes along with the pandemic, we also had this mental health situation. So that needs to be addressed, not just for the students, but also for the teachers. So, it needs to be taken care of. And then one thing that is very close to my heart is the special education. We need to take care of, even though we are good academically or sports wise and then fine arts wise, but we also need to take everybody along with us. So special education has a very special place in my heart. And another thing that I want to emphasize is that I'm very passionate about entrepreneurial skills, future ready skills, ability to collaborate, ability to communicate, ability to problem resolve. These are the things that are very, very necessary for students to build the futures and then succeed in the futures they are building. So we have some programs like Incubator EDU, ISM, and YEA. So I would like to strengthen those and have more of such opportunities, because even if somebody is great in academics, fine arts, or sports, they still need to have these skills so that they'll make great headways in their lives.
That's really awesome. Brian and I are both entrepreneurs, and I talk about it in my company all the time, how entrepreneurism, business ownership, the opportunity to own a business is just not something that's really put in front of students. You don't learn about how to do that, how to go about that. There are other options, that you can actually create something that the market needs, and I think that's it's really refreshing from my end to see a school board taking that seriously and putting some programs in place that are gonna make that more accessible. I did have one other question too. I don't think we've talked about it yet. I talked about this with one of our. We only got about 3 minutes left here. On my Plano show, when I had one of the city council members on, talked about how these local events have such low turnout, unfortunately, and how that should be the complete opposite, right? Because it affects you so much at the local level. And we spend a lot of our time focusing on state and national, which have their place, obviously. But you're talking about a group of people that directly, in some capacity, influence the children or Brian's kids that are in Frisco, those school districts. Why is there not a precedent put on voter turnout? And what would you say to voters or to try and drive that this election cycle?
Yeah, voter turnout, as you said, Nathan, it's very, very important. And then I speak to as many teams as many communities. I'm a person who was not approaching the community between the last election and then now. I'm completely visible. I'm completely, even when there was a rezoning issue back in late last year, I was there in front of the community, met about 120 people. So I'm always continuously meeting the people, connecting with the people, not just listening, but also taking action. So this is what I stress everyone, especially to the community, saying that, it's very, very important that we all participate, because local elections do really matter. They need to have the right people taking care of the school board, so that, the direction and the trajectory will continue to go the way it is.
Well, you mentioned, Gopal, you're in front of the people. So let's touch on that real quick, because I know there's an event coming up with the Frisco Chamber, I believe this evening, correct?
Yes. Yeah, this evening. Looking forward to. I would welcome each and every one of our community members to be there or watch.
Where is it?
It's in the Grace Church behind the library.
So it'll be online.
It'll be online too.
And we can get that from the
Chamber's website or their Facebook page. Yeah,
Frisco Chamber. Awesome. Well, that's good.
So yeah, jump on the Frisco Chamber of Commerce. There's a link to, it's a YouTube live broadcast as well. Yes?
It is. Yes.
Okay,
it is.
perfect. Yeah. Awesome. And then the election is first week of May, correct?
Yeah. So election, early voting starts from Monday, 25th of April, and then it goes on until 7th May, which is the last day. I encourage all of our listeners to vote early, between 25th and 30th, between 8 a.m. 5 p.m. And then May 2nd and 3rd, it is 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So because on 7th May, you may be busy or something like that. So make sure that, you go out and then cast your vote during the early voting times. Information about the location will be on my website, Gopal for FISD.
Awesome. Well, Gopal, I appreciate you coming on today, sharing your vision,
sir.
your history, why you're so well qualified. So, and again, thank you for your leadership. From personally from me, my kids are experiencing the benefits that you got and of all the hard work that you guys have done over the years. So we appreciate that.
Absolutely, Brian. Thank you so much for having me. Thanks, Nathan and Lyndon. Really appreciate everything you're doing for our community.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for being on.
Thank you, guys. And we'll turn it over to Brian Foley for the next Community Difference Frisco. It's in capable hands from a native Friscan. I don't know what the word is. Thank you for allowing me to guest host with you as we launch the second chapter of the Community Difference. And Brian, again, thank you to Paul and obviously to Donnie as well. You guys have a fantastic rest of the week.
Thank you for tuning into the Community Difference. If you enjoyed the show, take something you learned and apply it in your community or your business in order to make the difference for someone else. Remember, the smallest change begins with a single action, but a single action can make all the difference. A special thank you to today's amazing guests. Also, if you'd like to be on the show to share your unique story and how it made the difference in your community, please contact Lyndon Wilson at lendonw@thedifferenceradio.com. Until next time, this has been the Community Difference hosted by Nathan Smith.